All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Canada Hoops. It's your boy Matty. Thank you for your continued support. Please keep downloading and sharing us. Hit us up on YouTube and Instagram and X.com. Our big time guest today is all over the Canadian sports scene. He's Jade's uncle. He believes in the Minnesota Vikings, but not Kirk Cousins. He's been losing parlays since '98. He just called the 2026 U Sports Men's Basketball National Championships in Calgary. He's covered the senior men's national team for Canada basketball at the 2023 FIBA World Cup and the 2024 Paris Olympics. He is Arash Madani. Arash, appreciate you joining us, man.
Matty, it's good to be with you, man. Long time, first time, or first time, long time. I don't know which one you're supposed to say anymore, but it's great to be on.
Yeah, no, I'm been looking forward to this, man, and we'll let the listeners and the viewers know you reached out to get this done. We appreciate that very much, and always enjoyed your work. I just want to check in, man. How are things? You're a busy man. Like I said, just finished the weekend in Calgary with the U Sports National Championships, which was a banger tournament. We'll get into that, but yeah, how things, man?
Things are well, man. Things are well. I've basically been. I got free agented about a year ago, almost to the minute here, Matt. So it's a lot better talking hoops, I'll tell you, than what it was like about a year ago. But it's been an eye-opening experience, and I got to tell you, like one of the reasons I reached out is, like, to me, the Final Eight is one of the great weekends on the Canadian sports calendar.
Right.
I think there are some benchmark things that go on that are just part of like our country's sports identity. I don't know a ton about curling, but I think the Brier and the Scotties are an integral part of the Canadian sports calendar. I think the Final Eight, I think the Vanier Cup, the Grey Cup, these are kind of milestone parts of kind of, you think about our country's sports history. They matter. And for me, I hadn't covered a men's Final Eight in a long time, because back when I worked at Sportsnet, and we had the U Sports contract all those years, McAuliffe would do the men's Final Eight. I would do the women's Final Eight, which was a blast. So I hadn't been around the men's side in a while. And like I'm a Bishops alum.
Right.
So for the first time in 28 years, second time ever, we're playing in a national championship game and getting to call all three games of that. And I mean this sincerely, like the hair on my arms are up. I got a chill down my spine. It was honestly the thrill of a lifetime to get to call it. And you were there, man, like just banger games all around the board.
Yeah, it's I'm disappointed. Well said. I'm disappointed that I didn't get to more of the tournament, but I made a point to get to the final Sunday, and I'm so glad that the matchup was what it was with your Bishops Gaiters and the Carleton Ravens. Outstanding game, and it was just my first time at a national championship, and I'm so glad that they were here in Calgary, where I live, and just. If anyone has not done this and they're a basketball fan, and maybe if you're not a basketball fan, it was a really cool environment, very special. I just thought the representation of the game in our country, it seemed really like fitting in a sense just to be a part of that, in terms of, there's so many levels to it now in Canada. And obviously we watch a guy like Shai do some historic stuff last night, and just like letting the planet know like he is the man, to go down to the U Sports level where you have your Bishops Gaiters, a small, what is it, 2,700 like enrollment, like such a small university. Yeah, to make the national final, and they were right there, man. I was really pulling for them. But Carleton, Aubrey Dory Havens had the game of his life, like just cool moments and stories, man. So I just hope people try to really embrace that and experience a national championship for the esports, because it is so cool, man. It really is.
So I hadn't been to a men's Final Eight. I was trying to remember. I don't think since 2008, when Brock beat Acadia in the final in Ottawa. Acadia upset Carleton in that semifinal. Matt, like I'm blown away at the level of basketball now at the U Sports level.
Oh yeah.
Like it is so much better. And one of the prevailing conversations with every coach is like they're losing guys. They're losing their best guys. Transfer portal, NIL, it's real south of the border. But
Yeah.
Canada is now becoming the development ground that after a year or two, maybe even 3, teams are coming calling and teams are coming and scooping up the best of the best in the country. And, I appreciated Aaron Rooms, the National Player of the Year, had offers, didn't go. Said, I want to finish things out here. I want to build a legacy here. This program's given so much to me. But, it's not that times are a-changing. Times have changed. And so now these coaches have had to adapt to that with their roster sizes. But the creme de la creme, the top-end talent, it's never been better.
Right.
And that's amazing to see. Like when you've stepped away from, I followed, when the scrubs were around Carleton, when Stu Turnbull was doing his thing with the Ravens. But now, like having spent a bunch of time away from it and getting back in, and it's not just the men's basketball. I just say it, like the football's gotten so much better, but like when it's so pronounced, like a period of time, and to see it up close, you're like, wow, like the Bishops All-Canadian, Charles Robert, this dude's a legit 6'9", 235 of just physicality who can shoot it. Like what? Stuff like that just didn't exist before. And now it is at a high level here. Yeah,
it's I'm glad you mentioned Robert because I think when we were texting last night to set the episode up, I was reading an article on Raptors Republic, put it out on X there, and it talked about the influence and the impact some of the big men in U Sports can have by staying home and building something. And really great article. They talked about Robert, just especially kind of coming off the final. And he obviously stood out for the Gators, impressed me, hit that big 3 late to get it right there for them. So it's good to see these types of players wanting to build something, maybe not go south. And the article referenced some other guys that were high-level guys across the country for U Sports team now going south and trying to make a mark. So the level is great, Arash. Like, it's a testament to maybe a program like Carleton again that seems to find ways to win and just have the success in the final. What I know we talked via text. You wanted to maybe talk about like what needs to change or what stays in terms of, like I say, the final 8 and the impact. Does something stand out to you after being there all weekend and watching games and calling it? Like what? Because I was, for my first final and being a hoops guy, like I was pretty impressed. I thought the Calgary Dinos did a good job hosting.
A great job. By the way, real quick, Matty, like salute to the University of Calgary.
Yeah.
Salute to the organizing committee. And salute to Calgary as a basketball city, basketball town.
Yeah.
I had heard that the Raptors were going there for training camp, and then you see some of the pictures and the images and whatever, and you're like, whoa, and then I get down there and they're telling me how long the lineups were, people wanting to come get a glimpse of it. Like here you had a national final that was packed, featuring a team from Lennoxville, Quebec, population 6,500,
right,
against a team from Ottawa that, you talk about championship fatigue, that has won 18 championships. And in Southern Alberta, they packed a gym that has a brand new video board, brand new scorers table, brand new hoops. Calgary showed up. They showed they're a basketball city. And I know we're going to talk more about U Sports, but I truly believe that Calgary as a basketball city has now showed that if they have the interest, why not have a FIBA qualifier? Why not have some, take that next step to an international type event? Because, there were volunteers for this thing. Like so many people were just invested into making it work, and it was exceptionally done. And it was, like as somebody who loves basketball and loves to see amateur sport thrive and basketball succeed, it was really cool to kind of witness everything that was happening around it.
Yeah, it's I mean, I see it throughout the city living here, and just knowing the community that's, loving this game here. Like it's I'm kind of, I guess, in a sense, not surprised, but it's I've seen, tournaments in the past on television, whether, it was always in Halifax because of the great basketball community there. So, I mean, I love the idea, obviously, that it gets moved around the country and teams and universities bid on it. But, is there something that you would change or what needs to stay just to kind of keep the whole youth sport perspective in mind?
Okay. So I'm just going to get on my high horse real quick. I'm going to get on my soapbox, Matty. Okay?
Yeah.
So first off, they're asking these kids, these student athletes,
Right,
to play 3 games in 3 days. Your showcase gold medal game to be on the 3rd night in 3 days. Okay, that's one thing. Which I think I really would advocate for 1 day in between, no matter what the cost is. Speaking of costs, it's one thing to have 3 games in 3 days. So Bishops wrapped up on Saturday at the gym at like 10 o'clock. By the time they get back to the hotel, it's around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And I know that you can't control daylight savings, but that exists.
yeah.
Their shoot around time the next day was at 9 a.m.
Brutal.
Carleton's was at 8 a.m. for a 5 p.m. tip. Why?
Okay.
Well, because we're Canadian and we need to have consolation games. We need to pat everybody on the back and say, it's going to be okay. You're going to finish in 5th place. Because there's this archaic belief that if you're going to travel this far, we can't have a one and done for you. This is elite competition.
Yeah.
We're trying to determine a national champion. We're trying to grow what this product is. First of all, we're asking them to play 3 games in 3 days, which is hard enough. Secondly, you want to come around shoot around time, get a scouting report in, try and be at your best. And you're literally not going to be able to get 8 hours of sleep to practice.
Right.
I implore USPORTS, the athletic directors, and I know the coaches and the players are on my side here, to remove this consolation nonsense. Or if you're going to have it at a separate venue, another gym, whatever, because the only people showing up to consolation games are family and very close friends.
Right.
Get this out of the mix. It's a cost that the host committee needlessly has to pick up. Nobody's really interested in it. Going way back when, I remember when I was a student at Bishops, we lost our first round game to Brandon. At the time, the school named Ryerson, they lost their first round game. We're all at the bar afterwards, Matty. It's like 3:30 in the morning. I'm looking around. I'm like, well, based on what I'm looking at, no one's getting to bed till 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And it's like an 11 a.m. or noon tip-off the next day, and all you just smell is booze coming out of everybody's pores. Let's prioritize what matters here at a national championship, and that's the teams playing for medals. I have no problem with a bronze medal game. I think being on the podium is significant, but that's something that just has to go. Just because somebody decided way back in the 70s that this is something we should do, water does not make us weak anymore, and there's no need for consolation games.
I'm glad you brought that up, because throughout the weekend looking at the schedule and seeing that, I was like, well, yeah, these games, like who's going to these games, obviously, and then
who cares?
Who cares? And it's like the flip side of that is now you get a final of Bishops Carleton where I'm not going to argue or one way or the other, but the 3 days in a row, like they're riding momentum to like they're winning, they want to play the next day in terms of just keep this going. I would agree with you to have the day in between to set up a better final, give them lots of shoot around time. But I understand maybe the three in a row to when you have an 8-team tournament to, I think the momentum probably got Bishops to the final in that sense. But um, there's, what do you think about like the host being in a tournament, Arash? Like, do you think that's, I mean, that's
I
maybe
think
a
it's
team?
important. I think it's
Okay,
important because look, it's still about selling the product. It's still about drawing interest. It's still about building momentum. And like it was jammed in there on Friday night
right,
for the Dinos,
right,
and it was such a great atmosphere. And they came out a little flat, and Vic came out, and the Vikes just couldn't miss.
right.
And so right out of the gate, it became a blowout. But if you don't have the host in, like we're not at a point yet where the tournament is going to sell itself, unfortunately. Let's hope one day we're there. We're not there yet.
Okay,
And this can generate interest. This can, and it's not just for that weekend at a place, and especially for an on-campus national championship, that all year there's like this build up to that night. That Friday night, March 6th or whatever it was, at 6 p.m., the Dinos are playing. Who cares who the opponent is? Come see Calgary at home in a national championship game. That just builds attention, momentum, interest for the overall tournament, to come watch the local team, et cetera, et cetera.
no, I'm glad you put it that way because that was always a question I had is like a team could be really bad, but they win the bid. They're in this tournament. Yeah, they're going to get smoked. But I understand the importance of it. And I guess part of my question was, the Dinos were, a top team in the country within the last couple of years. They've had guys graduate from the program. So I'd always, in my mind, was thinking, is this a way for them to maybe sneak in a little run if they could get hot because they still have some really good players like that? Could be a factor for a host team
Sure.
moving forward where they could be the 8 seed, but they've had maybe an off year in their conference, but boom, now next thing you know they're going to the final. Like that's something I was always kind of thinking about.
Well, I mean, look, I think they thought that they were going to have, coming into this season, a different roster than they ended up having.
Right.
They lost 4 guys, at least 2 of them, if not 3, they thought were going to be back in the mix. But it's an interesting point, Matty, you make about the recruiting side of things. Hayden Franzen, a starter for the Dinos, a year ago this time was wrapping up a career at Cornell. He was playing Ivy League basketball, but had eligibility left, trying to figure out where he wants to go. One of the alluring parts about coming to play for the Dinos, one of them, was the fact that he knew he'd be playing in a national championship tournament.
Okay. Yeah, I read your article, by the way, leading up to the tournament with him. And you wrote a great one about Aaron Rooms too. So I wanted to plug that because
I appreciate it.
Yeah, those were great pieces. Anything else on the U Sport on the national championships you want to touch on? I thought obviously Aubrey Dory Havens 9 threes set the record national final. The kid was electric. He stands out for me. Anything else for you, man?
I think this is a neat story. So he wasn't as much of a factor because of foul trouble in the national championship game, but in the national semifinal, Cedric Biaba, who's originally from Ottawa, played in the Top Flight Academy in Ottawa growing up. He was outstanding off the bench. 19 and 9, just a force.
Right.
And we talked to Biaba after the Friday game when the Ravens lost MJ Ocado, their top scorer, Calgary guy, and all these people coming to watch him. And Biaba was just like, I thought he was like glazed over deer in headlights because his buddy was in a wheelchair with his knee injury, didn't know kind of what was going on. That was part of it. But the other part was he just told us, he's like, I'm emotional right now. He's like, I started my career at Laurentian. We never won a playoff game. I never dreamed of like playing in a Wilson Cup, the Ontario Championship last weekend, let alone getting to nationals, let alone winning a game at nationals, and then to punch their ticket into the gold medal game, to play for an 18th national title. This dude went out of his mind. And it's just like stories like that I really appreciate, that somebody's just figured it out. And at this stage of his life and his career, he's like, man, the payoff is here. The payoff has come. So I thought that was cool. And the other thing, Matty, is, man, those dudes just won their 18th national championship.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
wow. Just wow. I don't know what else to say. Like, it's death taxes and the Ravens in March, you know?
When you talk to, like, because I've had, you know, the Scrub Boys, Tommy and Phil on, and Kazak, Kajami Keen, you know, proud Carleton Raven alumni, winners, you know, when you hear players talk about playing for that program and just what it means, and they understand, you know, the expectation and just that standard, like from afar, say someone like me, you know, you can hear that and maybe appreciate it to a degree, but this school and this program and continue to have winners, like, it is mind blowing, and they don't lose in these finals, man. It's unreal.
Yeah. So I'll tell you 3 quick things. One, it's not just that they've won 18 national championships, okay, which is bonkers.
Yeah.
They're 18-0 in national championship games. Like, they do not lose on Sundays. So that's one.
Yeah.
The other is, you know, so often the term culture gets thrown around in sports. Chatting with Taffy Charles, you know, in the lead up to the nationals, he's like, look, if we win one game at nationals, we're not satisfied. We're not happy. If we win the semifinal, we're not satisfied. We're not happy. The culture here is to win it all. Like, we measure that winning success that way. And, you know, the kid who drops 35 in the national championship game, who knocks down 8 triples, he's a junior. His recruiting class, there were 4 of them that came in together. The other 3 are gone. One's at SFU. The other 2 are somewhere in the States. And when we're talking to Aubrey, he said, you know, I just asked him, I said, why'd you stay? He said, because this is the best basketball program in the country. The expectation is win a championship and to develop me into becoming the best basketball player I can possibly be.
Nice.
And I'm like, wow. And here's the thing, Matty. In 2002, when my career was first getting started and Dave Smart was relatively new as the head coach at Carleton, I remember calling those games on community cable in Ottawa. And I asked Dave, this is before they've even won one. I said, what are you hoping to accomplish here? He just said, I want to make sure I can make every kid on this roster the best possible basketball player they can be. And so when that's your culture, that's your standard overall, we're not satisfied with just one win or, you know, reaching the national championship game. When you don't lose and have that aura around you, and when the kids who stay are here to be great, that's why you are what you are.
Yeah, well said, man. Yeah, the standard is there, and you know, now everyone's going to be chasing them next year again. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's, you know, every other program needs to start looking at the standard and identify what they have to change. And you know, the best players are going to go to the best programs, but you know, the Carleton Ravens, just that expectation is there every year, man. It was a great final. It really was.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was.
Ready for some senior men's national team Canada basketball?
Let's do it.
Okay. I wanted to ask, like, going back to 23 and the World Cup.
Yeah.
You were there, outstanding coverage, you know, throughout the whole tournament.
One of my favorite assignments ever, by the way, my entire career. Cool. Yeah. Well, Jakarta, Manila, and what all that was.
What's, like, when you're, because, like, I feel like I know, you know, Canada basketball as a program fairly well, and I've over the years gotten to know it more and more, and talked to media people. You know, Mike Bartlett, the CEO, is a friend of ours. You know, other obviously players and coaches. But from your perspective, as that tournament's starting and just being around the team, interviews, you know, did you get a sense that the program and more so, I guess maybe the players, but just the magnitude and the moment, like what the impact of that would be for the program? Like obviously the result was amazing, but as it's unfolding, Arash, like what was your take of that moment and the magnitude of it, man?
So, because this is a Canada Hoops podcast, I figure our audience is like, I can really get into the granular of this.
Right.
So if you go back and remember how that all unfolded, the first game Canada played was against France. And that felt like the entire stakes were hinging on that game. And how were they going to deal with Rudy Gobert because, we have such a size disadvantage and blah, blah, blah. And it was in that game that I realized that definitely not the most important, definitely not the most impactful, but the player that was going to really sway the identity of this entire national team program, but not Shai, he was the most important, the most impactful.
Right.
Wasn't RJ, even with his pedigree and shooting ability. Wasn't Olynyk, even though he was the vet who's been through all this before. Man, Dillon Brooks
Hell
is
yeah.
that guy. I want to tell you a story, Matty, about that France game.
Yeah.
So in Jakarta, it was different setup in Manila. So my setup as the sideline reporter. So picture the hoop and the key, and then to the right is where the Canadian bench is. And on the baseline where those photographers are, I'm right there in that front row between the hoop and the Canadian bench, but closer to the three-point line, almost in the bench. And Dillon comes off for a breather, and he's down in the corner. And Nick Batum is just, it's late in the third quarter, early fourth. And he's hunched down, he's grabbing the bottom of his shorts. And Dillon, as he's toweling off, leans over and gets in fucking Batum's ear. And he's like, "You're old. You're weak. You're nothing.
I love that shit.
You're old. You're weak." And Batum turns around. "You're nothing." And sees it's Dillon. And I'm like, "Oh man, what's going to happen here?" And then Batum just turned around and took it.
Nice.
And I'm like, whoa, okay. Yeah. And Canada smoked them. And that set the tone, against Slovenia. It caused so much shit. He got Luka thrown out of the game. He knew how to get under Luka's skin.
Yeah.
And they absolutely dominated Slovenia to the point where the coach said these guys could win it all. Now they didn't have it against Serbia, but that was the month, that was the tournament that this program finally they became grown-ups. They became adults. They now belong at the big kids table. And not just from a basketball standpoint, FIBA now takes Canada seriously.
Right.
We matter in the global basketball conversation. We have a voice, we have a sway in how this is all going to shake down. And that is going to be so valuable. But that's my the takeaway. I don't think I'll ever forget that, because I can still see him just toweling off. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't smile. He just, Dillon Brooks, you're old, you're weak, nothing. And Batum took it.
So that moment gave you a sense of like they were on the verge of something special here,
It's just different. We're not afraid. We're not here. We're not playing in no consolation. We're here because there is a mission. They had two goals, right? To qualify for the Olympics and and win it all. And they left with the first medal ever, and it was Brooks actually in that bronze medal game against the States, who was lights. But the other part was Shai. Like Shai's, I don't know. All the puck heads are going to come after me, but like Shai might be the greatest Canadian athlete ever already. Like he's, it's like he glides. It's like his feet barely touch the floor. It makes it all look effortless. Like the clutch gene is just embedded into him. Like the superlatives are just endless, and he wants it so bad, but he doesn't tighten up. He just continues to perform, and he continues to deliver. The dude's accountable. He's accessible. And he really wants to win for Canada. And I just think that's just so incredible that we have that.
Yeah, I know, like when you talk to people with the program, you know, to have a guy like Shai be the face and lead it, they're obviously so grateful and thankful, because that's not necessarily a requirement for him, but he feels like it's, you know, his job to do it as well. And I agree. I mean, you won't get an argument probably from me or anyone that listens to the podcast in terms of, you know, pound for pound greatest athlete out of Canada ever. I mean, I don't know, what he's doing is remarkable. The run of, you know, 20 plus points in 126 games now, and the winner last night, and what he's done for Canada, and the qualifying for the Olympics finally, and just making, I'm glad you brought up the point of just making Canada basketball more relevant to FIBA.
Yeah.
Everything they do with marketing, you know, and promoting events, and now it's gone over to the women's side, which they deserve, because they've been representing so hard for the women's side. And you know, when you look at rankings, Canada is taken way more seriously, and that's because of Shai and guys like Dillon, and buying in, and understanding the value. And you know, I know, like I had Trey Bell Haynes on. He talked about just how great of a teammate Dillon Brooks is for guys. He had taken Zach Edey under his wing at that tournament. Zach was heading into his last year at Purdue, and, you know, probably had a little NIL money, but not pro money like the rest of the guys. And I know you've interviewed Dillon lots, like that side of it too. Like obviously a competitor to get under Nick Batum's skin, but just what he means for a roster and a team. And look what he's doing in Phoenix. And, you know, he's kind of embracing that villain side, but he's
GM, Matty.
He's amazing.
Dillon Brooks is on my team.
Yes,
because look, the basket, and we haven't even talked about the basketball side of it. The dude can score. The dude can defend. The dude can get under your skin. The dude can give you minutes. The dude's an absolute competitor, and he's also a culture builder, man. Like he's a hell of a teammate, and so you kind of add all those things up, and I mean, look, I'm not calling anybody underpaid, especially when they're making $21 million a year, but he lives up to that salary and then some.
Right. No, he's outstanding. And he's an easy guy to cheer for Canada basketball fans. And we've kind of needed an edgy dude for a while. You know, not always just with the national team perspective, but a guy representing in the league and being edgy that way. Yeah. And I think it's great. What, you know, do you have a favorite moment from that tournament, Arash? You talk about Dillon with Batum, but maybe just a personal one for you, professionally. Anything stand out through interviews, or just and even being a proud Canadian, man?
Yeah. Look, I grew up playing, you know, whatever grassroots basketball in Truro, Nova Scotia, and we had a couple of great coaches. Bob Pierce and Mike McKay, who like invested so many hours into grassroots basketball. And I thought of them because, you know, they're making an impact on people's lives. That's who I thought of the night Canada clinched their Olympic spot.
Right.
And I think everybody involved there had somebody that they thought about. I remember interviewing Kelly Olynyk, who after all this time, you know, finally got the payoff.
Yeah.
And he talked about remembering watching Canada at the Sydney 2000 Olympics and watching, on the floor, on the carpet at his aunt's house, middle of the night when he's like 9 years old. And his aunt had passed. And that's who he shouted out in the walk-off interview. And I remember so when they won that night, the tournament then from there went on to Manila. So the crews are cleaning up, tearing down. And I went over to them and I just said, hey, if you guys are tearing this thing down, can I just get those meshes, please? And I gave one of them to Olenek.
Nice.
I gave one of them to Jordi Fernandez, the coach at the time. And Jordi cared, man. Jordi wanted it so bad. Like his WhatsApp photo was his two kids and his wife watching Team Canada, and the kids are in Team Canada gear,
Awesome.
So I just remember how much it meant to them that they were part of the team that had done it and was going to continue to do it. And then we went to Paris and it all blew up. But, but for that moment, for that summer, for that night, and even the night they won the bronze, it was really special to be a part of.
I just want to share, that tournament will always be maybe a favorite for me. Not just because of the result or the qualifying, but I think just watching them go through it, and leading to Paris. And yeah, Paris was a disappointment, and we'll talk about that. But I was watching the World Cup at home. Then I was in Vancouver, Kamloops, the home of Kelly Olynyk. That tournament was personally special for me. Just,
sure.
I locked in on the 2000 games like Kelly. I was in college and playing in college and trying to catch games late at night and what that meant to me. And then just, you talk about Kelly, when he had that chance to kind of turn against the U.S. and end it on a 3, and he almost made it. I wanted that for KO so bad. How incredible would that have been? But they went into overtime, and Dillon ended up setting the record for most points scored for senior men's national team, and just a special tournament. I know Alex Adams. He's a friend of ours, and you met Scott Witter. They were covering it, and just so cool, and just the trajectory of the team, and Dillon with the gloves coming in the hallway outside the locker room, and your interviews. A great tournament. I think set the path going forward.
I'll tell you one more story. So the night before, or the afternoon before the bronze medal game, they're having a practice at a facility, not at the main venue. Novel concept.
Right.
And when they began way back in Jakarta, at the end of the practice the night before the French game, Dr. Peter Jensen, their sports psychologist, gave them a message. And part of the message was body blows.
Yes.
You punch first. You don't get intimidated by them. The message before the bronze medal game was no regrets. Because when they beat Luka in Slovenia, Serbia was coming up next. They really believed that they were going to win the gold medal. They really did. And then Serbia gets them, right? Bogdanovic does Bogdanovic things. They hit the 7-footer, whatever. And it was demoralizing. But Dr. Jensen spoke with the team, and his message was no regrets. And he talked about how he was involved with one of these Canadian junior hockey teams somewhere along the way, and they were in the exact same position. And years later, guys would, they'd run into each other at airports or restaurants or somewhere along the way, and they would speak with regret that, man, I let my ego get in the way. I was upset that we lost, and I had a chance to win a medal, it didn't happen. And it resonated with them. I talked to Nikhil after, I was talking to Powell after, talking to Dort, and that mattered to them. Lou was saying, whatever, we were 14th in the world coming into this thing. Now a chance to leave with a medal. Powell saying a medal will last forever. Nikhil saying, hey, just because we're upset now, let's not throw everything we've done away this summer. And I just I remember at the end, like them talking about body blows and Dillon coming out with the boxing gloves. That's part of it. Like they really all bought into that team aspect.
Nice.
And it's funny how every single person on that air quote Team Canada played a part on that run.
Oh yeah, very, very fitting. Well said. And had guys on the podcast post tournament that were there, Phil and Trey Belhanes, playing in their roles, and gave us a lot of insight what was like to be a part of that group and the mindset. And they recognize the moment, I think, and they talk about the bond, how close they were, and trying to really accomplish something despite not getting a chance to go to the gold medal game. What take me through Paris, man? Obviously finally getting to the Olympics, a lot of expectation, both for the players and the program, and a disappointing result, run up against a really tough matchup with France, and they bodied Canada. Just give me your thoughts on Paris, Arash.
So I think the biggest takeaway, and I know this sounds very basic, is that it's not a best of 7. It's a one and done.
Yeah.
So walk into that venue, and they'd been in Lille, like they'd been a couple hours down the road. This was their first game downtown La Défense Arena in Paris. And I walked in 90 minutes before tip, and the place is packed, and the chants of Allez les Bleus, Allez les Bleus, and the place is starting to shake, and it's loud and it's echoey, and it didn't stop. And I'm like, oh shit, like this is an intimidating place. And then I'm starting to think to myself, I'm like, well, look, they've played in NBA playoff games, they've played in big college games, and they were rattled.
Right.
They were absolutely rattled in that game. I remember late in the first quarter, Shai hitting a 15-footer from the left elbow, bit of a pull-up, and it went in, and he kind of, did the prayer thing looking up, like, and I'm like, uh-oh, we're in trouble. And they got into quicksand, and by the time they figured it out, it was just too late. And it was bad. Like that was really, really, really bad. And like Shai was upset. I hate the term frustrated. Like he was angry. Lou Dort was mad. I also just got the sense that there were some passengers on that one. It did not have the same tight-knit vibe as the summer prior.
Right.
So I think it's going to be really interesting with next summer in the World Cup and then LA, how this is all going to play itself out from a roster construction standpoint.
Do you think we see Jamal Murray again? Like that was obviously the big question. He was injured. He didn't play well. Now he's coming into this NBA season with the Nuggets very healthy, and the result is there with all-star selection. He's having great numbers. He referenced a summer of rest. What's your take on a Jamal Murray roster inclusion moving forward, man?
Yeah, it's just so hard to know. It's so hard to know. Like, and where Jamal's head may be at in March of 26, where is it going to be in May, June of 27? Right. It is a massive commitment. And the guys who are in, we're all in. So I mean, look, the answer is I just don't know. You wonder what matters to them. I think there is a few of the players who've really shown how much this matters to them, and I think there's a few that are question marks. And Jamal's one of them. Like, I know it's not on him. But moments after they lost the Serbia game, or was it the Brazil game at the World Cup?
Yeah, they lost to Brazil at the World Cup.
Yeah, but I just can't remember which of the losses it was.
Okay, sorry.
Disappointing one. Like, again, A has nothing to do with B, just bad timing, whatever. There's a social media post of him playing PlayStation in Australia or something. You're just like, right. So, like, I don't know. I really don't know. There's going to be some hard decisions to make. I talked to Edie about this time last year, and he's all in. He really wants to play. He's keeping track on things. So,
I worry about his injuries because he's an obvious. Zach is an obvious need. We need his size. We need his ability. When he is healthy with the Grizzlies, he's very good. He's impactful.
Yes.
That was kind of my question next is, moving forward. And Gordy Herbert, he's going to have an idea of what he wants a roster to look like compared to maybe what Jordy Fernandez thought. But Zach is an obvious need. Does anyone come to mind for you? Anyone else that you think needs to be a serious look for, say, next summer in 27 World Cup and LA 28? Like, we've got guys rising.
Yeah.
Do they fit a need? We don't know, but does anybody stand out for you?
The player I'd love to see make a jump, really elevate over the next year and change is Mathurin.
Yeah, okay.
Because if he can, that opens up some options. That opens up a little bit of depth, which we absolutely need.
Yeah, it's well, if people are tracking it, like his numbers with the Clippers, he's been off the bench for the most part. He's been really good since getting traded there, and maybe he's quote unquote replacement for a Jamal Murray spot in a sense. So yeah, it's going to be interesting because they're going to Rowan Barrett and his staff are going to lean on guys to try to commit, come to camp, see how our roster shakes out. They're going to have to cut NBA guys, which is not easy. To tell a guy we're not going to take you when he's that level of player. So, I think, and Gord, like I mentioned, Gordy and his staff are going to be focused on what they think is a best roster. Like I've had other guests talk about, maybe they give a look to a winter core guy that fits a real need that can really shoot it, like a Kyle Wilcher, who's been playing in the winter core windows. I mean, that's an option. Kelly Olynyk has said, hey, I want to do this again.
Yeah.
Is he your 12th guy that can give you a little bit of minutes and leadership? The guys love him. The program loves him. Like, it'll be really interesting when you look ahead to 27 and 28, what the roster is going to look like. And so, I think there's guys you can count on for sure. That'll be there. It's going to be exciting, man.
And I do too. One guy I want to kind of shout out. I don't think I've ever seen a team have the leader of the team in 23, maybe the most, like the glue guy of the team in 23. This guy didn't even play in the NBA. Like Melvin Ejim.
Oh, yeah.
Is just a stud and a pro and a dude and a uniter and a unifier. And he was the conduit between the coaching staff and the players. He was aware of every little intricacy to do with FIBA, etc. And the players, didn't matter who they were, like the respect that Melvin had was amazing. So
yeah.
I don't know what his role is going to be next summer and the summer after, but I think there needs to be a role for him next summer and the summer after.
Yeah, well said. Mel's joined us, and everyone loves Mel, and he's a great man, and I'm sure the program maybe has something in mind for him already in terms of advisor or whatever. He kind of sits with Rowan, possibly. Like I'm sure that's been something discussed, and maybe he wants to compete for a spot. Who knows? But he's that was a guy that you could just see what it meant. I think about in the World Cup with Kelly and Dwight and Mel and these guys that put a lot of time in and what that moment meant to them. So it's exciting, man. I think they have some luxuries and some positions, and we got to figure out the size thing. Hopefully, Zach can heal from injuries. Arash, man, first time on the show. Got to ask you, give us a top 5 or your favorite 5 for Canada basketball, whether it's just how they play or interviews, but 5 guys that really stand out for you for the program, man.
Active or all time?
All time, whatever you want, man. It's your 5.
I mean, look, Shai's Shai, and you can't have a 5 without Nash. So number 3, he's actually number 1, but you have to put him number 3, is Dillon.
Nice.
You know, Dillon Brooks is just the best. I'm going to go off the board a little because it's my top 5 and everybody's going to talk about star power. Will Njoku,
Nice.
going way back.
Yeah.
Will played at St. Mary's University. He was drafted in the 2nd round of the NBA. Growing up in Nova Scotia, you're like, wow, like this is possible. This is a reality. This, you know,
Yeah.
And he was the kind of put it on the map kind of dude. So, and then this is really going into the weeds, but I worshipped the Showtime Lakers.
Okay.
Like Irvin was my guy.
Nice.
Kareem just, you know, mesmerized me. I can still tell you like the roster up and down, colleges, heights, everything. And because Mike Smrek played for 2 seasons, won a couple rings.
Hell yeah.
You know, I heard that he's now retired from being a woodworking teacher in the Niagara area. I've bothered Doug Smith a couple of times. I'm like, man, I'd love to take Mike out for lunch or a beer.
Yeah.
And just talk about this. He's like, yeah, you can go interview him. I'm like, no, I don't want to interview him. I want to be a dumb fan. I want to be 8 years old, 9 years old, and go talk to Mike about those days. So I fully went off the board, but
it's a great one.
Those are my guys, you know?
No, I love it, man. I mean, I always enjoy asking that, and everyone's got a unique 5 and why it mattered to them, man. So it's always a good insight.
One more I'd add on the active team.
Yeah.
It's Lou Dort.
Nice.
Because Lou Dort has gotten everything possible out of this career. He cares about playing for Canada.
Yeah.
He is like, he just lays it all out there. He is blue collar all the time. He's elevated, grown. Just everything you want in a basketball player, man. And he cared, like he comes back to he cares about being from Montreal. He cares about being from Montreal North. Like he'll proudly come to Alouette games and CF Montreal games and wear the soccer jersey with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
All those things. And I think that stuff really matters too.
No, well said. I mean, great 5 and honorable 6-man mention, man. Arash, any shout outs or thank yous before I get you out of here? And again, man, truly appreciate this.
No, like the one thing I would just say is I was pumped that I got the opportunity to call the Final 8 this year. Right. And it meant a ton, the fact that Bishops is in there, you know, my alma mater, and being able to tell kind of those stories on the air. And what I'm really appreciative of are a bunch of Carleton people who know I went to Bishops texting me saying, I don't know how you kept yourself impartial through all of that, especially after Charles Robert was whistled for a garbage charge call late in the game. But I want to shout out my Gators too. Like a school of 2,600 people, for those guys, the 8 seniors, to go from that to the national stage to win a silver medal. Man, congrats to those guys, because they were absolute ballers, man.
Yeah, well said, man. Great insight to it. Appreciate the conversation, man, and truly loved having the chat, and hope to join us again, man.
Let's do it again, bud.
All right, that wraps up another episode of Canada Hoops. I want to thank Arash Madani for pulling up. Remember to rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Hit up our YouTube channel. Keep supporting Canada basketball, and we will see you on the next episode.